Deleted episode of Peppa Pig. On the other side, it was an ordinary day.
Wow.
Grandpa brought the family an old television. It looked strange, but it immediately turned on. It was showing memories, happy and familiar. But sometimes there was something extra in these scenes. At night, Peppa woke up to a strange crackling sound. The TV turned on by itself. It showed Mom, but with eyes that looked empty, erased, just for a second. In the morning, the scene repeated. Only Peppa noticed. During the day, everything seemed normal. No one believed Peppa's stories. A little later, she saw Daddy Pig. He wasn't blinking. He was just staring.
See, Daddy, you see? Something's wrong.
Daddy Pig monotonously replied. We've all been here before. Peppa searched for an explanation. With each day, everything in the house became stranger. Peppa whispered,
Mom?
She answered emotionlessly.
Don't look for too long, Peppa. You'll see too much.
Daddy disappeared. The screen hummed as if it knew this would happen. Peppa decided to act. She pulled at the TV cord, but it sank into the floor and disappeared. The TV had never been plugged in, never before. Now it showed only fear and nothing else. On the screen, family members without faces, Peppa inside it. She screamed but made no sound. Peppa tore off George's toy hammer and struck the TV. The screen cracked. From inside, thick black liquid flowed out. Something unpleasant and dark seeped outward. The TV was gone, but distorted reflections remained. Some things don't turn off, even if the screen is no longer there. Deleted episode of Peppa Pig, Zombie Apocalypse. It all started as an ordinary morning. Peppa was playing carefree with George in the room when suddenly the sky outside darkened and the sun turned a toxic green.
What's happening, George?
Suddenly, a loud noise sounded from outside. George whispered, Peppa, I'm scared. Peppa and George carefully descended the stairs. They saw their parents, wounded and bitten, with dark green skin and spots all over their faces. They were surrounded by zombies. Mummy Pig weakly muttered,
Help! We couldn't escape.
Daddy Pig shouted with his last strength,
Run quickly!
The house filled with zombie pigs. It seemed there was no way out. Peppa remembered that there was a basement in the house. She quickly grabbed Evie, took George's hand, and they locked themselves inside, trying to catch their breath and calm down. The basement was dark and frightening. They pushed through cobwebs. From above, they could hear crashes and screams. They stayed there for several hours, passing the time by rummaging through old things out of boredom. Suddenly, George found a cassette labeled, The Time Has Come. They found an old player and turned it on. They heard their grandfather's voice.
My little pigs, if you're listening to this recording, it means they've found you. The fate of our city is in your hands. In the basement was a secret laboratory. Press 3 palms against the wall. A control panel will open. The entry code is 7221. In my lab notebook, find recipe number 666. Only it can cure all those infected.
Peppa exclaimed.
That's the recipe. We need to mix these ingredients.
They set to work, and even the process seemed fun to them. After several hours, the potion was ready. Peppa poured the vaccine into bottles and distributed it to all the infected. Gradually, everyone began to revive. The spots disappeared, and their skin color returned to normal. The city thanked its saviors. The Peppa family decided to celebrate this day. They sat in the kitchen with a cake and tea. But suddenly, a familiar roar was heard. In the morning, Peppa discovered that her mom had disappeared. An oppressive silence filled the house. On the table lay a tattered note. To find your mom, open the right door. But remember, not all doors lead back. Her heart beat faster. There were many doors in the house. Each one seemed alive, as if waiting for her. The first door was dark. Behind it was a room with mirrors, in which she saw no reflection. When Peppa approached one of them, she saw her mom staring at her with black eyes and whispering,
You shouldn't come in here.
Suddenly, the mirror cracked and shattered. From the shards appeared a sinister shadow. Peppa screamed and ran out into the corridor. The second door was covered in cobwebs. Behind it was a room filled with clocks, all showing different times. When Peppa touched them, strange voices suddenly echoed. The clocks started ticking in sync with her heartbeat. She heard her mom's voice.
I'm here, or not.
Terrified, Peppa ran out of the room. The third door was long. The walls were covered with strange symbols. At the end of the corridor appeared her mom with black eyes. She quickly started approaching her. Peppa noticed fangs on her mom and ran into the next room, which had many doors, but one of them opened by itself. Behind it was the same room where she woke up that morning. Peppa chose the last door with a bright handle. She opened it and found herself in a dimly lit room. There stood her mom, but she looked unrecognizable. Eyes as black as night, face twisted into a terrible smile. Her mom whispered through clenched teeth.
You found me, but I'm no longer who I was.
At that moment, the walls cracked and began to crumble. The floor seemed alive. Peppa found herself in an empty space without any doors. Suddenly, she woke up in her bed. She noticed a small piece of glass on the floor. When she picked it up, her mother's reflection appeared before her, smiling sinisterly and whispering,
Did you think it was all just a dream? I'm always here, inside your head.
The pig family went on vacation to an old house in the middle of the forest. The house creaked with every step, and the trees outside the window didn't move even in the wind. Peppa and George were playing in the nursery. The parents were preparing food in the kitchen. At first, everything was going well, but in the evening, George noticed something outside the window.
He is already here.
He whispered. That night, George saw a silhouette of a strange tree through the window. He went outside to look at it. It was a mistake. In the morning, George was gone. Mom cried. Dad turned pale. The police didn't answer, so the parents went into the forest to look for him. They told Peppa not to go anywhere and not to open the door for anyone. Peppa was left alone. The parents walked along a creepy trail and ended up deep in the forest. Suddenly, they came across what had caused the nighttime sounds. A huge tree with arms and legs. Eyes and a creepy smile stood and looked at them. Meanwhile, Peppa was sitting in the living room. Suddenly, the TV turned on by itself. On screen was their forest. The camera slowly zoomed in on something between the trees. It was her parents hanging upside down. Then static and silence. Suddenly, the lights in the house went out. Fear gripped Peppa, but staying inside was dangerous. The monster knew where she was. Peppa tried to run through the forest to find help, but it had become denser than during the day. She walked along a trail and suddenly saw it. A creature resembling a tree. Tall, thin, yellow eyes, a huge mouth. It was staring directly at her.
Peppa, your family has been waiting.
Peppa and Susie decided to go to the beach. The clouds were gathering. Waves roared with gloomy thunder, and the wind howled. The girls began building sand castles. Suddenly, they noticed a dark whirlpool in the water, pulling everything around it. Suddenly, the water monster emerged from the water, sinister with shiny scales and creepy, empty eyes. "I've been waiting for you," he said. "I guard this abyss and take everyone to the bottom. This abyss has swallowed many. It takes those who are not afraid of their fears. If you want to learn its secret, you need to throw something precious to you into this abyss." Susie threw her favorite toy into the whirlpool. The water in the abyss splashed and terrifying faces of lost souls appeared on the surface. Peppa threw her favorite ball, and at that moment, the whirlpool boiled over, swallowing her soul. "You have become part of me. Now you will stay in this abyss forever." Their souls were pulled into watery silence. When they opened their eyes, they found themselves on the dark seabed. They noticed two red eyes watching them from the darkness. Suddenly, a terrifying sea duck jumped out, sharp-toothed and enormous. Peppa thought it looked familiar. The duck transformed into an even more horrifying silhouette that chased them across the seabed. The girls tried to swim faster, but their strength was fading. Suddenly, they spotted a small cave and quickly hid inside. The duck swam past. They caught their breath, but then light appeared behind them again. This time, two green eyes. With a wild scream, they jumped out of the cave. Behind them emerged a huge sea dragon with sharp teeth, long whiskers, and enormous claws. It wrapped its tentacles around them and dragged them into its cave. No one ever saw them again.